Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Truth Works. I'm Jessica Neal, and Patty is still out today recovering. So get better, Patty. We love you. But today I'm so excited because we have a friend of the family. He's been on the show before. William, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me, Jessica, and best wishes to Patty.
Yes, I know she's getting better. Back surgery is no fun. But if you all remember, William wrote this incredible book, "Be the Unicorn," which we talked to him about last time. And I just love your story from pastor to HR to running an executive search company, right? It's just, and now you're writing these books, you're doing this research and helping people have happier work lives. And you have a new book, which you're here to talk to us about. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about work, how you're wired. So,
Yeah.
and also before you get into work, how you're wired, how are you doing? How are things?
Yeah. Oh, you're so kind to ask, and you guys are kind of family to us. Just really hit it off the first time we were together, and then you guys were kind enough to offer some endorsement of the new book. So appreciate you having me back on. It's yeah, you do a lot of podcasts, but it doesn't often feel like family, and this one does. So.
Good.
And I think when you say, how are you doing, you're asking uh, insider question a bit. Back in February, just out of the blue, completely out of the blue, my wife Adrienne got a cancer diagnosis. And that's changed a lot of things for us. And there is no the good kind of cancer. I don't know what that means, but within cancers, this one is not that. So she's stage 4 renal cell carcinoma, so kidney cancer, but it's spread to the liver and some of the bones. So it's a very aggressive mess. And
Mm.
she's, we anyone on this podcast, if your best friend and life partner and spouse and mother of your children is, you're like, we'll go anywhere. We'll go. I don't
Hmm.
care if we have to go to Timbuktu to the hospital or Tokyo or anywhere.
Hmm.
And so we did the global search for, given the very particular kind of cancer she has, who's the best. And turns out MD Anderson, I live in Houston. MD Anderson had the best guy and the best facilities, and it's about a 10-minute drive from our doorstep. So we feel very blessed to have the best doctor, the best hospital. We've got good insurance. And up till now, sleeping in our own bed at night, which I think you heal better if you get to do that. So,
Yeah, for sure.
I don't want to go on and on about it, but Adrienne said, I said, it's your news to tell or not tell. And she's like, listen, the more people that know, if people know and they are people of prayer, that's what's going to get it done. And it is going to take more
Yes.
than the medicine to fix this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to push faith out there on the beginning of the podcast. You just
Yeah.
lost half your listeners, but
No, I
thank
listen,
you.
I'm a person of faith and I have been praying for her and I will continue to.
Well, we don't care what faith, like just anything,
Yeah.
like take whatever you
Yeah,
got.
anything.
So,
Good vibes. Good vibes.
yeah.
Everybody can
But
send
thank you
them.
for
Yeah.
asking. You're very kind.
Yes,
So,
yes. So, well, before we get into work how you're wired, maybe tell us, like, set us up to like what set the stage for that because you wrote this amazing
yeah.
book, Be the Unicorn, 12 Habits. And we talked a lot about that last time, but I think, I don't know, you tell me, but I think that probably led you to the research for this book.
You're exactly right. And just by way of background, if you're new to meeting me, I own and run an executive search firm. And as Jessica mentioned, I was a pastor in previous career, and then HR, and then the company where I was doing HR did a CEO search, and they used a search firm, and it went beautifully and was much shorter than anything in the church. So 17 years ago now, decided on our card table at our house to try to build something that could help churches find a pastor. And now it's blossomed into all kinds of other things. But what that means is we've spent a long time collecting a whole lot of data. And if we end up being a long term success, it will be the people that agreed to join me on the team and not me, because they have kept fabulous, copious systems for gathering all our notes, all our interviews, all our everything. I tell people I would say it's an OCD system, but my team would say, William, OCD isn't alphabetical. It's actually CDO. So, so
I love it.
during the pandemic, when we had, we're not just churches anymore, it's churches and schools and relief organizations and for profits and lots of things. But during the pandemic, we had a little extra time on our hands, like a lot of people did. And we were able to say, well, what can we do now that we wouldn't have time to do otherwise? And that led us to start looking at some of this data that we gathered. And the first question we asked was, if you get in an elevator with somebody and within 2 minutes you're ready to sign up for their blog or hire them or ask them out, or they've got that immediate wow factor. They stand
That
out.
spark.
The
Yeah.
thing, the thing. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Why is that? And so we identified all the ones we could find, our top 1% of everybody we'd interviewed, and we got it down to 30,000 people. And we then asked the question, do they have anything in common? And I thought it would be 6'5", blonde hair, blue eyes, trust fund, the whole, like that whole
Yeah. Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. It was 12 really distinct habits that these people practiced, and it generally had to do with how you were treating other humans. So
Yeah, that's the
we're like,
one thing I
wow,
loved about it was like self-awareness, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It, human relational skills matter, and I think they're going to matter more as we move into a more automated future than ever before. Because we don't do well being alone. If you don't believe me, go back and remember what it was like 5 years ago in the lockdowns. We don't.
Yeah, no,
So
yeah, we
that
don't.
led to, and
Yeah.
I'll shamelessly put it up here for people watching. That led us to
Yay.
say, okay, we found these 12 habits. Now we have found a roadmap for people to actually start behaving in a way that can mimic that, where you can be that person. And that was the unicorn habits, 12 habits. So how you can behave at work that's really going to help you. And that led to another question, because I have incessant curiosity. Okay, that's people who always move ahead in work, but are they happy at their work? And then we were able to say, we got enough data. Can we find people who like their job and are good at it? And see if we can uncover how they figured out what matched, or if it was reverse engineer it, where we say, well, if you can do some of this, then you can find a job that you're happy at. And I know there are lots of different studies, and you can quote any one of them you want, but the general gist of what I've found is most experts agree that the majority of Americans really just don't like their job.
Hmm.
What's
Isn't that sad?
quiet
That's so
quiet
sad.
cracking is the new
Yeah.
trend. I don't know if you've heard this term.
Well, I heard
They're
this
at work.
morning on CNN. I heard this morning that now people are, it was like the quiet resignation, or whatever they were calling it. Everybody's leaving after the pandemic, and now they're calling it, people are job hugging because there's too much going on, and now people are staying in their roles, and they're not. So yes, but in general, most people don't like their job, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, and then a little more research that we've done, and again, you can go on the internet and find any research to back anything but a significant number of studies show that most managers say that their teams are doing okay, but that's about it. So, what would happen if you could figure out how to find a job you liked and are good at, like you're wired to do? And I use we're getting older, so now we're interested in smaller dogs that can go underneath the seat of a plane if you're flying somewhere. And so you have this miniature poodle, and she's a ball of energy and wonderful. But if I asked her to do the Iditarod as a sled dog, like that 10-pound dog's not, no, no,
Yeah, she's not gonna do
and
that.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't ask a border collie to be cooped up in an, apartment in some big city. They need to be running it just like any other animal on planet. Each of us are wired in a particular way. And if you can find work you're wired for, well, now that's kind of cool. So rather than make people go through weird, complex equations for that, we distilled the 12 basic lanes that people who are happy at their job and do well at it, and into here are 12 distinct steps. If you follow through with each of these steps, you'll be able to gravitate toward which one of these lanes is yours and which kind of job is right. And, I
Yes.
actually tried to get Amazon to sell them together because it's like, behave like
Yeah,
this,
it's a
find a
package
job
deal.
like this. And yeah,
Yeah.
if you find a job you love and then behave the right way, you're gonna be running the company one day.
Yeah,
So,
it's you're golden. Well, that's what I love about your books, William, is that they're so like practical, and it's not these like big crazy concepts. It's actually kind of easy to do. I mean, you have to practice it, right? Which might be hard, but it's not impossible, right?
yeah, that's the hope. I mean, keeping it simple is about the only way I'm going to understand it. So hopefully others can agree. And
Me,
it
me
is
too.
sort of like it's like buying a treadmill so that I can get in shape. No one has ever gotten in shape because they bought a treadmill. They got in shape because they got on the treadmill, right? So
Yeah,
like,
you have
you
to
have to
actually
actually
do
use
it.
it,
Yeah.
practice it. But the
Yes.
data is pretty. This is not William's opinion about how you can be. This is like no, we've studied, and you can read all the evidence behind it and all that, and we even
Well, let's
point
talk
out to
about
people like,
yeah. Yeah, well, let's talk about what you found. Let's talk about how did you come up with
well,
these 12
so
focus
I mean,
lanes?
I'm gonna geek out on you, people who are data geeks. Like we took the people that are happiest at their jobs and good at them, and we ran them all through a few personality profiles. So one's the DISC inventory, which I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with. Another that your millennial listeners will know, and some of us who are trying to keep up, the Enneagram, which has been very
Yeah.
much in vogue, the last
Yeah, I
probably,
like I like that one. Yeah.
well, it's a very different way of doing it than the disc, and which is
Yeah.
great. And then the
Yeah.
third one was a proprietary index that we developed around the 12 unicorn habits. And so we put them through all three of those, and we said, can we see where they overlap? Where does the Venn diagram hit the middle on all of these? So that if you're wondering what lane you should be in, well, I mean, you can probably ought to be able to find a free way to take all of those, and that'll give you a little better map. You don't have to do that. You can just read the book because we've tried to make it simple. But
Right.
that was how we started to uncover. There's some commonalities. There's some common threads. So some people are, built like a greyhound dog. Some people are built like a bull mastiff. We're just wired differently. And the example I use, like when you're miserable in your job and you're not wired for it, I know this. I know this very well because when in the unicorn, I think the Audible actually outsold the hardcover. If not, it's close. And some people listen to it and then buy it, and like I don't know why they do, whatever.
Well, because they probably
But
want to refer back to it.
maybe that's it. Anyway, if
Yeah.
the author reads the book, it does much better on Audible. Just a general rule, unless you have
Uh,
a really awful voice. So, okay, I'll read the book. Well, here's what William had to do. So I'm a 7 on the Enneagram. I'm a high I on the disc. I love the next party. I love the next thing. I love multitasking, and let's do something fun and adventurous. Okay, William, we're going to record the audiobook. I need you to sit completely still for 4 days. And I don't mean like in a chair. I mean, like if you move, the mic will pick it up. And then I need you to read verbatim, no ad libbing, no adding or subtracting, this manuscript at a pace that's very predictable. Do you know how much? I think I lost at least 18 months of my life doing that. It was so bad. I was just not wired for
I think
that at all.
Patty had the same experience when she did hers, I think. Yeah.
Well, and there's some people that are good. There are people you can hire to do this who are great at it and love it.
Right. Yeah.
They like sitting
Right.
still. They like reading a script. They like doing the same thing every day. They're wonderful. I'm glad my accountant is wired up that way, or I'd probably be dressed in a different kind of orange today. Like you want some people who are wired like that. I'm just not. And it took me a long time to kind of figure that out. And it's such a powerful thing if you can figure out your wiring. As I swear, if you'll figure out your wiring and then go interview for that job, you'll win the interview. Because they're going to ask you, they're going to say, well, tell me about yourself. And the subtext there is, I don't know how to start this interview. I need an icebreaker. This is the one everybody uses.
Yes.
That can be such a gnarly question. Do they want to hear my life story? Do they want to just, it's like, how are you? I'm fine, and don't say anything different.
Right,
Um,
right.
but but it's so powerful. If I were interviewing, for a marketing position at a high growth startup, I could say, I like your company. I've studied you, which you need to do in an interview. And I noticed how you did this last year because I read your year end report. But I really like the spirit of the company and the spirit of this job. Because here's the thing, I'm a high I on the disc. I'm a 7 Enneagram. If you don't know what that means, it means I love a new challenge. I love figuring it out as we go. And man, if this is the season where we got to figure out marketing as we go, I mean, everything's changing every day. That energizes me. Let me tell you how in my 3 previous jobs, the best things I got done were when I was asked to do something I'd never seen before, when I was asked to go learn a new skill, when I was asked to take on something that was a new challenge. That's where I did well. If you want me to be in compliance, like, don't hire me. I'll be terrible and you'll fire me and that'll look bad on my resume. But what I've learned about myself is I'm wired for this kind of job. Do you know how that's
Yeah.
going to go over? I mean, how would that go over with you if you were interviewing somebody and they said that?
So well. And I wish more people like did that for interviews, right? Like came that prepared to talk about themselves, came that prepared to like really understand the role, really understand the company, and then not wait to be asked, but tell, like kind of show in a way that your readiness, that's
Yeah,
that. I mean, you will hire that person all day long.
all day long. And
Yeah.
so, and then, oh, by the way, if I win the job, it's going to be a job I'm going to enjoy. As I have an attorney friend who always says, well, what's really nice is that has the added benefit of being true. So,
Right. Yeah. I like that. I know. My dad's a lawyer. He would like that. Yes. So tell us about the just you don't have to go through all 12, but pick a couple of the 12 of the what you found and what surprised you, if any.
yeah, well, I think so. The 12 are kind of a riff on the 12 habits of the unicorn. They're meant to go together. So it's not unintentionally repetitive. It's actually
Yeah.
quite intentional. So we found some jobs that we found some signs like if you are one of the habits in unicorns is one of the lanes is the agile, the people who, just like I described, they like bouncing from one thing to the next. My wife is this way. She said, I remember when I was a high school student and I'd get a job at the Gap during the holidays because they needed extra help. And they'd ask me to fold a whole table of jeans. And then when I got done, go rearrange the shirts over here. And then when I got done with that, go rearrange the socks over here. And I found I had to do like 10 minutes on this one and then go do 10 minutes on that one and then go do 10 minutes on that one. And I got everything done quicker because, like, if you realize you're that kind of person, then you can
Yeah.
either make the job fit who you are, or even better, find the job that is who you are, right? So these agile people need to be in roles like marketing or a company that's trying to adopt AI and trying all kinds of new things. Like they when it's taken too far, it's the person that you meet and you say, "So, what's your favorite book you've ever read?" And they say, "Well, I just finished it." Uh, every week.
Yeah. I
So
know that
it's,
person. Yeah.
but we found, here are the jobs. So we did a lot of research and a lot of surveying. Here are the jobs that best fit you. And
Right.
some of it was like, everybody thinks it's like CEO or CFO. No, no, no. How about air traffic controller? How about,
Right.
not
Which
a
we
welder?
are in desperate need of, by the way. Very
That's
hard
right.
job.
That's right. I mean, we take it down to like who's better wired to be a janitor and who's not. You don't have to be like running for president to benefit from the research that we did. It's really for every level. And then we interviewed people who are in the job that they love, and we also put in each chapter we put a little section that's for hiring managers. Well, if you're
Oh,
hiring this
yeah.
kind of person, here's what you're getting. So you need
Yeah.
to
Which I
understand
love
that.
that part. Right.
Yeah,
I love that you added that because I think that's such an important thing because again, uh, yes, if you're a person trying to find what you're wired for, but I don't think when managers are interviewing employees, potential employees, that they really dig into what they're wired for, right? They don't
yeah.
dig into that drive and that passion. And that was something that I learned in my career because I grew up through recruiting, which I'm sure you remember. But when you didn't align that passion with the mission of the role or the company, like it just didn't last, right? Because both sides weren't happy, right? Um,
And
so
sometimes that's on the
I'm so
manager to
glad you
figure
put that
out.
in. Yeah, exactly.
Well, sometimes I think that's on the manager to figure it out. I mean, frankly, you're probably the same way. Patty's probably the same way. I interview pretty well. And, if I were desperate for a job and just desperate to find the next thing because I got to provide for my family or what have you, I could probably come off as really energetic about your job. And it's something that neither one of us are going to be happy with me being there. So, it's not just learn how to interview well. Like if you're the hiring manager, you need to understand these 12 kinds of people so you can say, is this going to fit or is this like not natural habitat?
Yeah, yeah. What was one of the just I'm happy in my job stories that surprised you? Like for the role or in your research. Like you're like, they're happy?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, so I was a little concerned that I'm always looking for data that's neutral. It's not just, for instance, we're not just interviewing pastors, right? So, because that's a different type of person than an airline pilot or a brain surgeon or that sort of thing. So, we were real careful to neutralize the data and not just use, one type of person. And the number of people that right now are saying that the purpose of the organization matters to more to them than it ever has is a fun surprise. Life's too short to just get a check.
yeah.
Life's too short to spend the majority of your waking hours doing something that you don't know why you're doing it or what matters. I love to see people that put purpose high. And there is a type of person that puts purpose high that you need to know if you're wired that way, so you don't go to. I'm going to pick on an industry, an unethical trading firm where they're like doing anything to get the deal done. Not every trading firm's like that. I got a brother-in-law works for a trading firm. Please don't send me the email, but like it is known to be like the ethic is, did we
Yeah,
make money or
yeah.
not?
Right.
And you probably need to understand that about yourself so that you don't put yourself in a situation that's just not your natural habitat. I keep saying that, but like I think of the poor polar bear at the Houston Zoo. Like, what is natural about that, right? It's
It's
100,000 degrees
hotter.
outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say the number of people that were like, I need to know the why. That was really cool to see. I knew I'd see it in the
Yeah.
religious sector but
Right.
um, then you get into like compensation doesn't matter as much as culture for that sector. It's really interesting. And then I also just found that the people who are curious right now, who are asking questions, are very rare. But when you find one and you're an innovative company, oh my goodness, the hay you can make with that and how they're excited about it. And like I'm going to sound melodramatic, but I really think I used to think, wouldn't it have been cool to grow up when Da Vinci was alive and he was in, Renaissance kind of time? I think the next 10, 20 years is going to make the Renaissance look kind of like a non-event. So,
Oh.
like the agility that would be necessary to keep up and get just a little bit ahead, those people are going to have more and more opportunity than maybe ever before.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. You know, I think so, maybe we can talk a little bit about just like what's going on right now and like set people up for like advice. So there's a bunch of new college grads coming into the workforce. There's a lot of things going on in the world like AI, but there's also some uncertainty because we have tariffs and we have,
Sure.
every day we're maybe in a recession, maybe not. We don't know. But what do you see right now, just even from your business, in terms of what companies are they're still hiring? I think they're still growing. What are
Yes.
you seeing? What are the trends you're seeing?
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, there are other things going on besides AI, and I can't really speak to political climates and uncertainty there. I don't know how to, you know, we started helping churches, and we still help a lot of churches. But somebody told me a long time ago, "Oh, that's awesome. That's the only thing besides alcohol that's recession-proof, religion." So,
True.
so I don't know how to speak to that, but I do know, like I've got 7 kids, and the oldest one's 31, so they're all sort of on the front end of their career, and it's really interesting to watch them think about what they want to do, and then follow that with the question of will that job be around in 10 years, 5 years? I mean, it, I was in a forum, and forgive me if I'm retelling a story I told before. Stop me, okay? But
I
I was
won't.
in a forum. Okay, so I was in a forum. It was kind of like Shark Tank for purpose-driven businesses, and I was invited to sit through the pitches and all this, and then outside the pitches, they had little breakout sessions and and so they had don't record this kind of session on AI. It was limited to 50 people, and it was the head of all the AI for Google, and it was the head of AI for a company that works with our defense systems, and it was a guy who started 3 or 4 AI companies. Okay, so pretty heady people. And I think
Yeah.
there were 49 coders in the room and me. I just wanted to go to hear stuff, but I learned there the people that are most scared to death are coders because that's
Yeah.
not looking great as a future career. But anyway, they all asked all these questions about back end coding, and I mean, like, I felt like they could have been just speaking Greek, and I didn't know. So one of the panelists was kind enough toward the end to say, "Hey, you haven't asked a question. What's your question?" I said, "Okay, I got a high school. I think it was a junior at the time, getting ready to look at college. What should they not major in?"
Yeah.
And all the coding talk stopped, and everybody actually listened. It's like, oh wow, okay. And they didn't answer my question. I want to know what's going obsolete. They wouldn't say that. But
Right.
one of them, I won't name them, said, "How about this? Let me tell you what I would tell my kid to major in."
Yes. Thank
Oh,
you. Yeah.
liberal arts.
Really.
And this is from a tech person. I'm like, what about STEM degrees and all? I mean, that's all we hear about, right? Is
Yeah.
all this?
Yeah.
And
Stem,
they
stem,
said,
stem.
the future is so uncertain. How much is going to get coded? How much is going to get automated? How much? What will remain, though, is a need for humans to relate to other humans. And a liberal arts degree, I'm a liberal arts degree, so I know this, gives you enough basic information about a lot of different things that you can have a conversation and you learn critical thinking and you learn wisdom on how things should be applied rather than. And so that is where the human currency is going to be. So I would just anybody listening that's on the front end of a career, or frankly, if you've got more than 10 years of your work life left, it's worth asking because the pace is about to pick up. Like, is this job going to be around 10 years from now? What parts of it are going to be around, and how do I get better at those? But no matter what the job is, figure out, and probably we didn't make this term up, but we think we did. You talk about businesses are B2B or B2C, right? So
Yeah.
focus on H to H skills, human to
Human to
human.
human. I remember you said that last time. Yes, and I love that. Human to
H
human.
to H to H is the ball game. And you can
Yes.
find work you're wired to do and which are the 12 lanes. But once you find that, if you don't practice the habits, your career's still not going to go anywhere. But the research I'm seeing, the trends I'm seeing in a very uncertain future, there's one certain clarion call to developing your human to human skills. So, and
I think
Alternatively,
that's
if we're just
perfect
living in
advice.
the if we're living in the precursor to the Terminator, then we're all going to die anyway. So what difference does it make? Major in whatever you want.
True. True. Well, I hope that's not the case. But okay. So, for if I've discovered that, I read your books and I'm not wired for the job that I'm in.
Sure.
But it's scary to leave a job, right? Yeah. So what's your advice for those folks?
Yeah. Well, I could be snarky and say, before you start calling recruiters, make sure you're on your own cell phone plan. Do you ever get calls from people that are still on their mom's cell phone plan? Like,
Yeah.
you are 30 years old. Like, this is not making a good impression. So I could be snarky and say something like that. But
Yes. Yes.
I,
Yeah, not your
I think
mom's
this,
phone, guys.
yeah, get on your own plan, right? So, but in real terms, I think I used to say I'll never place someone somewhere that doesn't currently have a job. You know, the old wisdom of don't go take a job unless you have a job. It's easier to get a job if you have a job. I I don't know that I believe that anymore.
That is
But
less
what I'm
true.
looking well, what I'm looking for, and maybe you know this in your recruiting experience, where I probably pay more attention. Okay, I'm giving away the secret sauce. All right, pay more attention to listening to people describe their transitions between jobs and how those went. Like right in there, I learned so much. It's not, I'll learn a little bit about what they did in the job, what they did in the next job, but like, what about that middle part, the really
Yeah.
strange little crossroads and if somebody doesn't have a job, but they left their recent job well, and they didn't make a stupid, moody decision to just walk out the door without thinking about how that affected the company or their own family. Like, if I hear, I feel like I completed what I was supposed to do there, and here's why I think that, and I trained up my replacement, and those. If I hear completion, then
Uh-huh.
that makes a big difference. And
Yes.
I've said, oh, I don't know how many times I've said, and I might be wrong, but this is what I believe. I think people will remember how you left your job long after they forget whatever you did while you were at your job.
Totally. It's so
And
true.
so I'm listening for transitions. And if you're thinking I'm not fitting this job, then I just start asking myself, how do I make this a really good leave? Right?
Right.
If you've made it however
That's
long you've
great.
been there, you can probably make it a little longer. So how do I make this a really good leave? Now, I don't have a universal rule for do I tell my boss I'm thinking of leaving or not because I don't know your boss. Some of them
I
are
know.
mercurial, some of them are insecure because they've been stabbed in the back before. Some of them will fire you on the spot if they hear that, right? But not everybody. Most of the time, I think, especially now in a super volatile, fickle job market, I think we just had this happen with a team member here who's moving on to do great things. And the best part about their leave was they let me know early, and that gave the one gift they could give me was time. They
Yeah.
gave me time to figure out, well, how are we going to fix the gaping hole you're going to leave because you're such a great team member. So I don't think it's you have to have a job to get a job. So you don't have to hang on to the very last minute until the. It is nice if there are no seams in the transition, but I'm still going to ask you if you've got your job. If your job's so great, why are we here? So you know, but I also don't think that you have to feel like telling your boss you're leaving is the very last day you're going to work. It might be you say,
It
listen,
might be.
I want to finish well here. Life's short. I want to move into some other areas and pursue some other interests, but I want to make sure this is done right. How can I finish well? Please don't go do that unless you know your boss well enough to know if that's gonna work.
No, I
But
know. You're making me think of a story when I was at Netflix. Uh, Someone high up like, kind of told their boss, like, "Hey, I think like in a year, maybe I'll want to do something else." And they're like, "Okay, how about today?" So, I mean, they were totally not prepared for that. So you have got to be prepared. And they were like,
you got
"Can
to be
you
prepared.
believe this?" And I was like, "You knew who you were saying this to, like." Like, you know how they react to things. Like, if you weren't prepared for that, you shouldn't have had the conversation.
And we're back to get good at your human to human skills.
Yes, yes. Well, no, and I think, one of the things that Patty and I talk about, and is is this concept that of saying goodbye graciously, and
Yes.
companies aren't good at saying goodbye, and which leads employees to not being say so I think, like, if you can sort of normalize coming and going in your firm
Yes.
as like a normal thing, it just makes things a lot easier. This is not somebody being disloyal to you. This is
Right.
somebody, life is too short, but it's also too short for business as well when you have the wrong person in the role. And why would you want to keep somebody in the role that isn't passionate about what you are doing? Right? It doesn't make any sense. And so everybody just kind of gets, like, whether you have to let somebody go or whether someone's leaving, people just get very kind of negative and emotional. And I think that's because saying goodbye, it is hard to do, but we haven't
Very hard to do.
normalized how, yeah, but we haven't
You know
normalized how
what?
to
You
do
know
it.
what
And
makes it
what
harder?
if you can do a transition?
Yes. And
Yeah.
what makes it harder for so many younger workers in the workforce is, and this is no criticism, it's just a statement of fact. We're waiting longer to get married, we're waiting longer to have kids, and who then is your family? Well, the people you work with. So if somebody's going to leave, well, now you're like leaving the family, you're leaving me. That hurts. Why? So, I think you're totally right. That's another book. But I will say to hiring
Let's write it
managers,
together. Let's write it
let's do
together.
it. I don't
Okay.
say that one more time or it's going to happen. So,
I'll do it. I'll do it.
okay, well, all right, we're gonna have another chat then. That'd be
Okay.
fun. But
That would
I,
be
I,
fun.
I would say if you're a manager that would rather know ahead of time, what a gift you can give your team just telling them that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't tell them
Um,
out of the blue. You tell them out of the blue, they're gonna be like, "Does he want me to leave?" But when your next team member leaves, just say, they gave us time, and that was great. We can handle the fact that you're gonna come and go. It's okay.
Yeah. No, I think if you make it normal, it's good. Like, there's companies that, say, hey, like, when people start, like, hey, here's how we think about leaving, and here's how we think about saying goodbye to
Yes,
people who may not work out. Here's how we do it. If you ever feel this way, we want you to tell us. And you won't be kicked out of the building. We'll figure out a
exactly.
transition, right?
That's right.
And I think it's just so healthy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and rare.
and and rare. But I think also, when you are making these decisions, whether it's the company or it's the employee, the company somehow makes the employee just feel terrible. They make that experience
Mhm.
so bad. And that's when people make these wrong moves. Like, they walk out the door, or they, send a nasty email that they that they shouldn't
That's right.
send to somebody, right? But if you don't make people feel bad about these things, they'll probably behave a lot better.
That's right. That's right.
So,
You
anyhow,
sound like somebody
well,
I'd
listen.
enjoy working for. Good thing we're writing a book together.
Good thing. Well, I have to hang out with you more because, again, too much time passed between the last one and this one. So if we can
Yeah,
hang out together more, I'm all for it. We are running out of time, unfortunately. But I want to do two things. I don't know if you remember, but we always like for our guests to leave a nugget. And the nugget is, like, the best advice you want to give our listeners, right? We've already given them lots, but what's the best one you want to leave them with? And then we're going to do a career confession. So we'll
sure.
start with what is your words of wisdom, William? You have so many of words of wisdom.
Um, wow. Learn to treat people well, age to
Yeah.
age skills. And then personally, if you can learn to know yourself, you're going to be a lot happier. And you're going to know what to work on, and you're going to understand why things are the way they are. And that's what we found with people that are really happy at their work. They genuinely know what their identity is, and they're fine with not being everything for everybody. And they find work that matches that. So know yourself. That treat people well and know yourself. I think those would be the two things
Yeah.
I'd say.
Why people not, is it, do, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, is a big question, but why do people not treat people well? It just makes no sense to me.
It is
Will they just
counterintuitive,
never treat
right?
people well? Yeah. Will they just
I
never treat people well?
I don't know. I'll say it a different way. If you genuinely treat people well and try and serve others, you will never run out of business because it's a
Yeah.
rare trait and people will be
Yeah.
gravitate toward you.
Yeah. Agree. At Netflix, I used to always tell the people at the front desk, like, I want to know the people that don't treat you well when they come in the door, that aren't gracious, that don't say thank you, that are kind of jerks. Like, I want to know. And a lot of times they were very senior, very well experienced people, and we never hired any of them.
I
Not a
When I
one.
go to a new client and we're getting ready to do a search for them, I try and get there early enough that I have to talk to the receptionist for a while. What's it like working here?
Yeah. Yeah. You'll get it. You'll get it. You'll get all the good things. All right. So now we're going to roll into a career confession, a little bit more advice. Okay. Here's the context. I left my job to find something more meaningful, but now I feel directionless and unsure of what kind of work I should even be aiming for. How do I clarify my mission and align it with a career path that actually energizes me? Well, I think the answer is buy your books,
Yeah,
both books.
that's the answer. Yeah, yeah, and I think I just said know yourself, and it's the best time in the history of the world to know yourself. I mean, the tools that are out there, Enneagram, DISC, Myers-Briggs, blah 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 blah. Ours is the Vander Index. All those are make it easier to know yourself. Um, and in addition to getting to know yourself, I think sometimes the best way to figure out what the move is to keep moving and not get in paralysis by analysis. Like keep working, finding things to do. Even if you're really taking a long time to figure out what the right job is, go to Starbucks and get a job. Just keep your hands moving. There's something about
Yeah.
continuing to work that clarifies a sense of what's next.
Yes. No, I think that's so true. I always talk about this thing with recruiting, but also with just finding jobs and interviewing. It's like, there's got to be momentum, right? And when you
Yes,
have momentum, these things just sort of more naturally evolve and become apparent, right? So when you're interviewing, I tell people, even if you're not interested, take the call. Like this momentum matters, right? And if you're not
yes,
working, go volunteer. Like keep
that's
your
right.
mind busy, keep moving because it's going to lead you to something else. Like everything
Exactly.
leads you to where you need to be. So I think that that is great advice. And the other advice is buy your books, right?
By the, by
And
the,
read them and practice them and do them. And then, I think, William, if they want to find your books, I'm guessing they can find them on Amazon and wherever else books
yeah,
are sold. Yep.
yep.
And then what if they want to find out about you and your firm?
Yes.
Where can people find you?
You're very kind. So I hated my last name growing up, but now I love it because you can misspell Vanderbloemen 100 different ways into both Google and Amazon, and you will find it. Just
Yes.
try. You'll get there.
Yeah. How many Vanderbloemens are there?
There
Do you know?
not many. It's a fairly
More in
common
Europe, I'm
name over
guessing.
in Netherlands. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Netherlands. Yeah.
every flower shop over there is blooming, and they do grow quite a few flowers. So it's funny. I know we're out of time, but we use HubSpot. You know, if you want, you
Uh-huh.
can read our
Yeah.
blog, and if you want more
Yeah.
information, fill out this form. So we got a form. Oh, it's been a couple years ago now. There's only one other William Vanderbloemen on the planet, right? And so we get this HubSpot form filled out. Tell us who you are, William Vanderbloemen. Tell us how we can help you. Well, actually, I just wanted to meet the other William Vanderbloemen. So we did a
Did you
Zoom
meet
and had
him?
a beer and talked, and
Oh,
yeah,
you did? Oh, fun. Oh, fun. Oh, well, I'm jealous of the other. Well, I need to change my name so that we can hang out and have a beer. But I'm in San Antonio and you're in Houston, so we're not that far from each other. So we
that's
gotta we
right.
gotta
That's right.
see each other in person one day.
We'll do it. We'll do it before the book
Okay.
comes out.
Yes, that would be great. Okay, thank you so much for coming on again. We love having you as a guest, and I can't wait to write our book, and I can't wait to have you back on the show again soon.
Thanks, Jessica. It's always a joy to be with you. And thanks to everybody who's listening and watching today.
Yay.